Hello, I'm Fred Evans. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. County Executive Ike Leggett has delivered his proposed operating budget, FY18, to the County Council, which is presently getting testimony from the public about this document. Brian Karem, the executive editor of the Sentinel, will comment. The Board of Education has sent its budget document to the Council to be considered along with the county executives for the ultimate decision to be made on both by May. Jane DeWinter, who comments for this program, has the story. The April issue of the Beacon is featuring several very interesting articles about what's new in medicine, and Stuart Rosenthal, the editor and publisher of the newspaper, will report. April is Autism Awareness Month, and Madison House, a foundation to aid and assist persons in our community with autism. JaLynn Prince, the founder and principal supporter of Madison House, will tell us about Autism After 21 Day, an initiative of the foundation. Brian, welcome.
Fred, good to see you. How you been?
Very good. How about you?
Hanging in there, can't complain.
Try to tell us about the budget.
Try is the optimal word. It's a very conservative budget. There's no proposals for tax increases, but it's a very questionable budget because, as Ike has said, Ike Leggett, our county executive, it depends a lot on what the federal government does, and the federal government
doesn't do.
Well, yeah, or by omission or commission of
Right.
act. There is a huge effect, and there is already a lot of skittishness in the economy locally. So that's probably one of the reasons why we don't have a tax increase, because we really don't know what else is going to happen. And because of that, everything that's funded is done very cautiously. It's been referred to as a worst case scenario budget, but I don't even know if you could really label it thus.
Right.
And the politics behind it, for those that are unaware, is there's a couple of things in play. The federal budget, as proposed, would cut a lot of domestic spending. A lot of those offices, a lot of those people who staff those offices live in Montgomery County.
Right.
So if it's cut, while it may have minimal effects across the nation, it would have drastic effects here in Montgomery County. The fact that we're a very blue county and we have a very red president, that's, and no pun intended, that has also, it's almost retribution. And then the other political part of that in play is the sanctuary status or supposed sanctuary status in Montgomery County and some of the communities in the county. So that is combining to make sure that whatever happens in Montgomery County, we're going to be looking at less federal involvement, and there are billions invested in this county. So it's not just the money that the county would lose directly from the federal budget, but it is also the money and the economic impact of losing
the individual
that money.
citizens who are.
You mentioned the sanctuary issue. Is Montgomery County a sanctuary county? Is that
No,
an issue?
but it doesn't really matter. You have to understand that in today's White House, and believe me, this part I do understand, going down there, is the facts really don't matter. It's the fact that does matter is the fact that we're seen as a safe haven for immigrants, for illegal immigrants, and therefore retribution will be visited upon us in some form or fashion. So that's, at the end of the day, when looking at the county budget, the two things that are going to be most impacted will be education, because a lot of that money is already mandated. It's mandatory to be paid. There's a maintenance of effort, as you're well aware of.
And we're growing year by year.
So that has to be met. And so the discretionary funding in the county budget is minimal compared to that which is mandatory. So how much you can actually affect the budget with cuts is up in the air. And if it gets to the point where the maintenance of effort is threatened or vital services are threatened, then you're staring at a real disaster in the county as far as the budget goes. And we really won't know that until the end of this month, when Congress has to address the federal budget.
So the budget will change, you think, once that happens?
I don't know that the county budget will change,
but
I don't. Yeah, but I know that it will be. Right now, putting together the county budget, I feel sorry for the people in the county, honestly, because it's like preparing strategy for a football game, and you still don't know if you have helmets and shoulder pads. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
And well, since the federal budget, I mean, the federal government has got to do something, whether it's a continuing resolution or something.
Right.
By the end of April, we'll
We'll know
people
how
will be,
bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and whether it's just kind of kicking the ball, the decisions down the field, and still having a lot of uncertainty. Or
I like the
whatever,
football
so,
metaphor.
Yeah.
You extended
And
it.
I think what the point is, in terms of the county budget, is that if services are cut as a result of federal reductions, it won't change the county budget, will change services. The
Right.
Services
Well,
will
it'll-
be
How do you think it'll
eliminated.
affect those with disabilities?
I don't think anybody knows how anybody's going to be affected by this budget yet. Like I said, it's like preparing to play a football game and you still don't know if you have the equipment. That's the bottom line. Could it be affected dramatically for people with disabilities? Yes. Could they not be affected? Yes. Will policing be affected? Maybe. Will education? Who knows?
And
Wait until April. It's all up in the air right now. And meanwhile, they're going, like you said, we're undergoing public hearings right now for the budget. So
Right.
people are sticking in their 2 cents worth. And honestly, it's high wind in the trees. You don't know what we have, and even more so than in most years. I mean, budget work is guesswork to begin with. You're basing it on economic models, what you've made in the past, what you anticipate you're going to get, and you have to adjust. It's completely different when you the variables are so much that putting any number down on paper is an act of fiction.
And the tax base of people who may be leaving or losing jobs could be
it's
immense
losing
on the
We're already seeing, as when I spoke with Ike
community.
last week, we're already seeing, he believes, the effects of the questionable budgetary process in the federal government because people are skittish about investing in homes. People are holding on to their money, not spending it. And that could have, I mean, for a county that has billions invested in it from the federal government, and I mean billions, that's where people are scared. It could be a recession or depression in this county and the
Yeah,
rest of the country.
including
would be
office
fine.
space.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to another interesting part of the budget. Half of
Education.
half of the budget
Good segue,
typically
Fred.
Yeah, yeah,
Half of the
a little
budget
bit
for
more
the-
than half now. Yeah,
for the county,
Yeah.
at 2.3 billion, is that
2.5.
2.5 now, okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about what's going on.
Right. Well, the school system, the superintendent released his proposed
there.
budget.
Superintendent Smith, right? Jack?
Superintendent Jack Smith released his budget in December. The Board of Education heard testimony. The board made a few, or the superintendent and the board made a few tweaks. They actually finally added somebody to analyze the budget in the office of the Board of Education. And they also made some adjustments for actually the enrollment increase won't be quite as big as they thought. So they made a few what I would call technical kind of changes. They approved the budget in February, and it's now in the hands of the council. The county executive also releases a school's budget that came out as part of his whole
Right,
budget
right.
in mid-March.
Now, did his represent what the school system
Well,
requested?
he actually his budget recommendation was everything the school system asked for,
Okay.
shy $7 million. So that's pretty darn close.
Right.
And the school system's request was above maintenance of effort. And so that would represent, if it's passed as is, or even, even the county executive's budget is passed as is, would be
Now,
above
did
maintenance of effort.
I should know this because I do follow the school board information. Did the associations not get a pay raise or accepted a 1% decrease?
No,
Am
I don't
no.
believe.
Okay.
Well, I could plead ignorance and not being
Okay.
tuned in. But what was built into the budget, their 3-year contract ends as of June 30th, 2017. So they're currently in negotiations for the next 3-year cycle. And $55 million of the increase is set aside
for potential
raises.
For who-
So
for what?
for school system employees.
for all that.
Yeah,
One of the
and
biggest-
benefits and
One of the biggest complaints that we get from the budget when we get letters to the editor and when we get the nice ones that are readable, is that, and actually are
Or
cogent.
printable.
All right, all right.
Readable, printable, and
Yeah,
cogent.
yeah.
But one of the issues that they always address is the capital budget, that we're spending too much on building new schools when we should refurbish old ones and stick money into it to help out the individual student. And I know that's an issue that they dealt with in the past,
Yeah.
but I don't know how they're going to deal with it this year.
Well, I mean, there are, a typical thing when the budget, if the capital budget gets tight, they frequently, or, they have to deal with enrollment increases, or they take it as a, sort of a rule of thumb guideline that they have to deal with enrollment increases that could impact the ability to develop in that part of the county, so that usually they'll prioritize, doing an addition rather not to stop all, housing development in an area and perhaps delay the rehab, the modernizations.
No, we got like a three-page letter on Gaithersburg High School shouldn't have been rebuilt, that they should have spent the money on students.
Well,
Don't get me started. on that.
Yeah,
That's one of the, you know well.
part of the thing.
That was 20 years late.
Having worked on
Yeah.
committees that really are looking at that and whatever, the school system, when they are, when a building is up to really be modernized, rehabbed, whatever, they do look at what parts of the building could be saved.
Right.
And frequently it isn't any, because at the time, like you might have, your cafeteria or your gym, but if it's not big enough to accommodate your student body right now,
That's right.
you can't keep that. And frankly, a lot of the parts of the buildings are in really, really poor shape in terms of the, electrical and HVAC and
The thing we always
systems
point
and-
to is it's the upgrading in the infrastructure in the building itself that it doesn't make it conducive for rehabbing the building.
Well, I mean, you
the
look at-
electronics, the computers, all the stuff that you
Right,
have
right.
now, you can't retrofit into
Well,
another building.
look at why do people do tear downs instead of keeping the foundation of every house? Because it's less expensive to tear it down. And the other
and it
element,
makes for a prettier house.
right? Well, but the other thing that's coming into play is the fact that the school system does not really have any holding school for high schools, so that there's no place to put
Wow.
high
That's
school
correct.
students. So if the land is big enough to accommodate the existing building and then build a new
And
building
Gaithersburg is a great
alongside,
example of that.
then you just kind of
Richard
shift the
Montgomery
kids
was the same.
over and whatever. Otherwise, you do something that, say, Walter Johnson did, where the modernization was a 7-year process, where different
Right.
parts of the school were closed off, and they had 40 or 50 portables on, trailers on site.
Yep.
And and no fields. So for 7 years. So
Well, this will be something that we have to watch very, very closely.
carefully.
Both of those budget issues. What's the final word you want to say about the school board budget?
I think again it's conservative. I mean there are some strategic things in there to to work on achievement and really hone down on some things, but there isn't any huge sweeping changes.
Well, thank you very much. We have to take a break. We'll be right back. And we're back. Stuart, welcome.
Thank you, Fred.
I'd like to hear about all of your medical and health issues in the most recent edition.
I've got some interesting stories for us. One of them is about a condition that almost 100% of people will get, presbyopia. That's the fancy word for when
Say it again.
You can't see things up close. Presbyopia.
Okay.
Yeah. As we get older, our eyes change and our lenses sort of thicken up. They don't respond quite as well, so we have a hard time reading those pill bottles and even reading the newspaper, and everybody gets their reading glasses and all this kind of stuff. Well, for years they've had a solution for people who can't see distances, right? You can have LASIK surgery and you have something put in your cornea and boom, you can see without glasses. Well, they've come up with something now for presbyopia. There's another thing that you can slice a little bit into the cornea. You can drop a little tiny lens in, and it takes 10 minutes, and it's painless, and you can see up close with this lens. They're just now introducing it into the public.
It's proven and it works.
It's working. It's being used now. It's called the Raindrop. In fact, there are two of them. One's called the Raindrop. One's called the Camera with a K. And they use different methods, but they both help you see up close. And it's only in one eye, so it's not going to affect both your vision. You can still see
they're
distance.
cutting into your eye.
That's what they do with the cornea. Isn't that something? The laser business, you know?
But that's what they do with cataract. They cut in and
That's
put a
even
new
more-
lens. Right, right.
Cataracts are much more invasive. That's where they actually
Right.
remove your lens and give you a new lens. This
Can
is
you
just
do
putting
both? Can you
a yeah,
have?
well, that's different. Well, then you probably wouldn't do it in the
Myopia
same
and
way.
All right.
Yeah, I think they have lenses now that replace for cataracts that will do both near and distant.
All right.
My goodness.
Okay. I
So
didn't
but
know
they're very
that.
expensive, but you can do that too. But this is for someone who doesn't need cataract surgery or doesn't want anything like that right now. And the interesting thing about it is it's reversible. If for some reason you don't like this new vision or it's blurry or something for you, then you can take it out. And I think that's new. They've never had anything
And
like that
how does
before.
that, I mean, because at least my own experience with presbyopia has been that, well, first I just couldn't wear my glasses for
Right,
far.
you could hold the things out,
Then
yeah.
then I needed to move things out. Then I needed a very weak prescription. Then it needs to be a little bit stronger.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
does
question.
this
Yeah.
implant thing?
It's a very good question. My
do-
understanding is it adjusts the way light enters the eye and sort of
Interesting.
compensates for the fact that the lens isn't doing this. So I don't know. It's new.
Okay.
We'll see if it really does
Yeah.
what
I
everybody
think
needs.
there's a
Hold on,
simple-
I can't see you. Wait a minute. All right, there you are.
There's a simple way around that. In the shower, just take a magic marker and put a big S on the bottle, or C for cream rinse or shower, and that way you don't need
That
to
solves
do
all
anything.
your problems.
It does.
That's perfect.
All right, what
Okay,
is the
so now the
next?
second story is about a condition that no one wants to get, and hopefully will not. But
I didn't want the
but-
first
but
one.
you're going to get it anyway. But people may get this one too. 1 out of 4 is cognitive decline. We're all worried about our minds, right? About being sharp. So the question is, apart from all the expensive, brain games and things that you might be able to do, are there regular daily things people can do that reduces your risk? And apparently there are. They studied,
a few examples.
I'll tell you about that. They studied 2,000 people over a period of 4 years, and they just divided them up. Who does the following things? Who goes to the movies with friends? Who does crossword puzzles or plays games and bridge and whatnot and chess? Who surfs the internet? Who reads books regularly? Who these kinds of regular
in other
things
words,
people
it's
do.
like using your brain.
Using your brain. Right. And they find, but the people who don't, the people who sit in front of the television all day, whatever. So in fact, the problem is
And those were
reading.
Donald Trump voters,
reading is
right?
the only one of those things that doesn't help you avoid cognitive decline.
Reading?
Reading does not. But all the other things, being involved with other people and playing games with other people and surfing
Interesting.
the internet and all these things, reduce by 20 to 30% your chance of getting early cognitive decline. So that's
Fascinating.
something to keep in mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the third.
Third story is about a very interesting and apparently successful gene therapy treatment, which they've been trying for years. to
Gene
get
therapy, did
Well,
you
that's
say?
where you take something out of the body and you genetically modify it and put it back in,
Whoa.
like your blood. So this is a blood test for people with a blood cancer, actually, with lymphoma. So they've removed the T cells, which are taken out of the blood supply, they're immune cells, and they tweak them to fight this particular cancer, and they infuse them back into the person. One-time treatment for people who were on their last ditch. I mean, they had no other treatments worked for them anymore. They had at most 6 months to live. They tried this condition on them, and 36% of them have had complete remission of their cancer.
Really?
More than half have had
Wow.
their tumor shrink by more than half.
What types
They're
of
all living
cancer?
9 months later, except for 2 or 3 of them. This is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So that was a specific-
That was a specific cancer this was for. But it's the first time there's been something anywhere near this successful. So they're very optimistic that maybe they can start using this treatment for other things
When they
as well.
do that, when they're taking your blood out to pull the T cells out and tweaking them, I mean, how long does that take? I mean, is
good
that
question.
something where they take it and then they come back tomorrow and we have your new
I'm not a doctor. I
improved?
haven't been
Yeah.
watching this, but I assume it's fairly quick. I don't know how long it takes to do it, but
Same
these,
day?
when I keep these, I don't know.
Outpatient therapy?
I would be surprised by
We'll get
that,
to
but
that
I don't
point.
know. We can
Yeah.
look into that. There's information. In fact, the whole thing was developed at the NIH, and it was funded by the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society.
Which
and
is
now
going to be
it's
cut?
probably.
yeah.
But now it's being. I'm out of time. Okay. It's
No,
being.
no,
It's
we're
being
all right.
tested by a pharmaceutical company that has gotten the license to actually take it public. So we're
Well,
hoping that will
thank
happen
you
soon.
for that. That's very interesting. And make sure and get the beacon so you can read about all
Great.
these things.
Good. Very interesting.
Autism After 21.
Yes, Autism After 21 Day. And that's what we're really excited about. Madison House Autism Foundation started here in Montgomery County 10 years ago. And we've been working locally, but we've also been working nationally. we were gifted in part a farm here in Montgomery County, so we've got a very physical presence here.
Where?
It's in Dickerson, Maryland.
Gotcha.
And we're working with job training and helping people learn agricultural skills to be able to be involved in agricultural endeavors elsewhere in the community. And we're combining autistic individuals, military, and the typical neurotypical population on the farm. So that's a very definite presence here in Montgomery County. But the thing that we're finding is that here in Montgomery County and around the country, those that are 21 and over on the autism spectrum are somewhat invisible. People assume that by the time somebody graduates that everything is taken care of, and as a society we don't need to give any credence as to what adulthood and autism might look like. So we approached Chris Van Hollen a year ago, and he presented it in the Congressional Record last year to have Autism After 21 Day set aside, and now it has really taken hold. We're going to have an acknowledgement here on the 21st of April in Montgomery County, because this is where the idea has grown or started, and there will be other states and other municipalities across the country that will be acknowledging that after 21 there's another 60 years of life, and as communities and as individuals we need to be aware of these people, because they often bring wonderful talents to our community.
What kind of, after 21, what kind of support does a person with autism, or does it depend on where they are in the spectrum?
It depends on where they are in the spectrum. It depends on where they live. It depends on how active they are in perhaps soliciting for some support services. But on the whole, things stop.
Well, let me ask. I have a nephew who's autistic and past 21, two of them, and they're mainstreamed for the most part. But the biggest problem that I see for autistic people over 21 is the possibility of living on their own if they want to, and they do, and finding jobs that will accept them even though they're autistic. And it's very difficult to, I mean, especially in a private enterprise, to get people to move in that direction when they can hire someone who isn't autistic.
Well,
so how do you deal with that?
two things. First of all, you've got to be aware of a population before you give them consideration. That's why Autism After 21 Day in the middle of Autism Month is signaling it's not just children. And you're right, it's 85% or underemployment for this population. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be such.
I mean, some of these people have so much to give, and we don't even have a method to understand how they can give into the community.
And if every employer could work or look at their corporate culture and figure out a way that they could offer employment to someone on the spectrum, they could bring great gifts in so many ways. They can be exceptional workers. They can bring things that other employees may not. And there's also another benefit too, that as employees learn to work with people that have neurodivergencies, they learn also about how to accept others in the community. They take it home to their children. Their children learn understanding. It really spreads in so many ways. And a corporate culture that is understanding and can be supportive is the type of a corporate culture that can exceed or excel in so many other ways. So there's so many benefits along with the unusual abilities that many people have.
I'm curious, is the farm the idea for these people because maybe farm life is more conducive, it's less in the sort of social interaction with people and more just doing your job and maybe having animals around? I don't know.
Well, I would say in part yes, but I would say there is as many different choices that need to be out there for this population as for any population.
I don't mean to be insulting,
Some people
but
want to be.
That to me makes the assumption I find, and look, I have autism in my family, I find that autistic people are no different than anybody else.
Right, exactly.
Some would do well on farms, some do well. I have an editor who works for me who's autistic. He's fine in a social setting.
Okay.
That's part of the problem, is that people don't see that people who have autism are just the same as every one of
and
us.
some may do well on a farm because they like it. Some of my neurotypical friends prefer farms. Some people prefer working in Manhattan or in downtown Bethesda or in any one of a number of things. And we've got to have choice.
We have about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Is there any concluding Are there any concluding remarks you'd like to make about
Yes,
this
I would
effort?
like to offer a challenge to our community and say, look around and see how you can bring into your circles those that may enhance your life in ways that you have no idea.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank all of you for joining me this week, and thank you for joining all of us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Fred Evans. Please join us next week at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you.